Okay, so here we are at the Voicethread homepage. I'm going to make a dangerous assumption that we as professional educators are going to be able to register for a free account. It's a very straightforward sign-in process. And whenever you log in, it takes you to the My Voice tab. And on here, you have the All thread. You have the voice threads that you have created, and then under tutorials that explain the process for such things as setting up the microphone or your webcam, using the video doodling tool, the Zoom tools, which can be great. I'm going to go up here to the Browse tab. So this is just a gallery of lots of other submissions to VoiceThread across many different subject ranges. You have math and science voice threads that explain the step-by-step processes that you run into in those subjects. Instead of just providing notes for students, you can also emphasize points using your voice and the doodling tools over some of the images and documents that you upload. Some terrific applications, obviously, in language arts and the social studies, from digital storytelling to creating journals to art. You could upload your entire class's gallery of work and allow students to share and post comments on it. And one of the obvious things is that this is a resource that students can pause, rewind, replay, and do all of this on their own time and at their own pace. Let me take you to a voice thread that I have created, and I'll take you to the editing portion so I can show you how to go about constructing this. So after you upload your slides, your images, or whatever documents, you can actually move around the slides if you wanted to alter the order. Also, let's say you've already uploaded the slide, you've already provided your audio or video commentary on it, but you decide that you're unhappy with that particular slide. What you can do is actually go back and replace that particular slide. And it does so without changing any of the comments that have already been placed on that particular slide. Speaking of creating comments, it's a relatively simple process, either within the editing function or if you're viewing the presentation. So you click the comment button, and you have several options here. You can phone in comments, which I haven't utilized, and I don't know how well that works. The video comments from your webcam, which works great. You can post audio comments, and those people who are bashful and don't want to put up audio or video can simply type in whatever they want to say, and also use the doodling tool to draw attention to whatever it is they happen to be focusing on within that particular slide. So let's have a look at what this looks like. So starting at the beginning, I wanted to view this as a complete lesson that could be done outside of the classroom, from the lecture to the presentation of questions to students discussing, offering different types of assessment even within that voice thread. I have here a rubric for how the students are supposed to make comments and the points that they'll be allotted based on their contributions. As you can see here, this is what the comment looks like. And for this assignment, I recorded clips of a podcast for the students to listen to and then respond with either video or audio or typed in comments, and they would be evaluated based on their responses. Now, one of the great things about this tool is that you can moderate the comments, much like in Moodle, so that other students can't view the contributions of other people until they've been put up. So that eliminates the possibility of somebody putting up something that wasn't appropriate, or for students to simply copy off of what the other students have done. One of the other things that I did was create this to be done in a progression, allow them to change their perspective throughout the presentation. And at the end here, I also asked the student for feedback, like how did they enjoy this particular lesson? Are there things that could have been done better? I'm hoping to get some input. You would follow the link on the wiki page to actually view this presentation and let me know what you think. So the last thing you would need to do, obviously, is to share the presentation with some other people. Up here you have a gear wheel that allows you to go back to the edit page to embed this. I'm going to be embedding this into the wiki page, and also to share it by copying the URL link to send it in an email, again to embed, or also to invite people within your classroom or your particular institution. I hope you found my brief walkthrough of Voicethread informative, and I encourage you to hop on voicethread.com and to open up a free account and look around for yourself and see whether this is a tool that you could ultimately use effectively within your flipped classroom. So obviously with any sort of changes, and this would be a major one, you're going to run into some pretty significant challenges. Transferring all of your lecture notes and everything to an online experience is a pretty exhaustive process, and obviously the concern is that you would be doing too much at once. So you'd have to figure out for yourself whether that's something that a task that you would want to take on over a summer or over the course of a year. I wouldn't recommend doing it at the end of the year based on the testimonials from some of the people who have flipped their classrooms, just because students are frustrated that they haven't had this kind of interactivity for the entire year. You'd have to be pretty creative with your grading process, especially if you're have a framework where students can take tests multiple times. Learning for mastery, they can turn things in, and you have sort of fluid deadlines. So obviously you'd have to spend some time evaluating how you want to go about grading kids effectively. Access is clearly going to be an issue for some communities and even for individual students. So are you going to be able to provide resources for students that meet their needs? Those people who are using YouTube, for example, might be able to record or download their vodcasts and put them on thumb drives or various other things so that students can take them home or to the library to use. But it's always a factor that needs to be considered. So clearly this isn't an exhaustive list of the things that educators who are considering flipping their classrooms need to consider. But one of the major factors is, how do we sell this new paradigm to our community members, whether it be administrators, fellow teachers, students, and particularly parents? This, generally speaking, is not how they learned. There's this sense that teachers, especially those who use input from other educators, other resources, are shirking their duties as teachers. And it's important to take the time to explain to those people how freeing up class time allows them to have more meaningful engagement with students and more one-on-one attention to those students' specific needs. And so in closing, I'd like to leave you with some thoughts that occurred to me while I was producing this presentation about the flipped classroom and education in general. And one of those is that the most valuable commodity that we have as teachers is time. And using that time effectively is critical to our success as teachers and to our students' success. And what better way to evaluate whether we're using that time effectively than to go back to the tape. The flipped classroom allows you to go back and see where you made mistakes and where you might be allowed to make improvements. And also it provides a forum for students, for your colleagues, for our peers to give us feedback and to share some of the best practices and tools. And lastly, this project has reminded me that it's okay to fail. I've made tons and tons of mistakes throughout the process of this, and making mistakes is one of the best lessons, the best and greatest lessons that we can offer our students. Learning from our failures is a major part of what allows us to succeed, and we need to model this positive risk-taking for our young people. And that's at every level of teaching, implementing technology, of just exploring as lifelong learners. Thanks for your time. I'll be posting a number of resources that I drew on in creating this presentation, and there's tons of terrific tutorials on the web. I encourage you all to look around and try and figure out whether flipping your classroom is something that you'd be interested in doing, and what the tools that would best suit your needs would be. Thank you again for watching, and I really look forward to your feedback and to hearing and seeing all the rest of your presentations.